Coming up on This Week in Hockey East, it's a full slate of non-conference action on the men's and women's side. We're going to go short shift central to tell you about the things standing out to us. It's coming up on This Week in Hockey East. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another week of This Week in Hockey East. It's a holiday week for us, so we're going to do things a little bit different. There's so many games, most of them in the non-conference, so we're going to kind of do a all short shift episode, just some stuff that's jumping out. You know, if you're still recovering from your turkey yesterday, some things to think about today, some afternoon games on the horizon, some evening games, some really interesting non-conference matchups, but just some stuff to take in as you look at your Hockey East week as we get to the home stretch of the first half of the season. And it's just a lot to pick from, Tyler. There's so many different ways to go. Why don't you get us started? What's on your mind this week?
Yeah, we got UNH going to RIT, and Nesson has you covered there for both of these games, Friday at 7, Saturday at 5, and it's a real measuring stick for both of these teams. UNH got back into an offensive rhythm against Northeastern. They had 4 goals in both of those games last weekend. So UNH winds up sweeping Northeastern. It's the first time they've gone 3-0-0 against a Hockey East opponent in 10 years. You have to go back to 2013 against UMass Lowell. So a 6-2-1 start for UNH, their best since 2017. My question is, we know the defense is strong, 7th in the country, but on the offensive side for UNH, are we getting the team that scored 6 goals against number 1 BU and then 5 goals against number 4 Quinnipiac? Or is it more like the number 7 Providence weekend where they were held to just 1 goal across those 2 games at the start of November? So how much do you credit that to Providence? Not quite sure. I think this RIT series is going to help us find out a little bit more about how good this UNH offense can be on a consistent basis. RIT off to a nice 7-3 start. They're ranked number 20. But their pairwise ranking of 33, it kind of gives you a sense of where the strength of schedule is. They've beaten up on a lot of teams a bit below them, but they beat Notre Dame 3-0 in front of 10,000 fans in Rochester. So some good energy lately up at RIT. So looking forward to that series.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the theme of this week for a lot of these games is the fact that they're on the road, right? And that has different implications for the pairwise. UMass is one of those. They'll be at Harvard later today. That's also a Nesson game at 4 o'clock from the Bright Landry Hockey Center. Harvard's off to an interesting start. It's always difficult to judge the Ivies this early in the season because they've just played so much less hockey than everyone else, right? But Harvard, it felt like finally righted the ship. They went up to Cornell. They got a big victory and tied with Colgate. So that was a week and a half ago now. So are they starting to come along? But let's talk about UMass coming off just a massive weekend against Providence. They end up getting 2 wins against the Friars, starting Thursday night down at Schneider Arena and then at home on Saturday with a Orr-like goal, right, as the game winner. It's really amazing how UMass dug that game out. And you've seen a lot of resiliency from this UMass team, right? Digging their way out against Michigan after falling behind, looking like it was going to be a totally lost weekend. They find their way 6 goals in a row. Coming back from that Vermont third period 2 weeks ago and doing what they did against Providence. The interesting thing about this particular game is we've talked a little bit about how UMass is still not getting as many shots as their opponents, but they're finding ways to win anyway. Big reason why, of course, is Michael Thrabble, the freshman in goal. Both teams are kind of like that this week. Harvard won a game at Cornell where they got outshot. UMass won some games against Providence where they were outshot. So it'll be a little different, and it'll be interesting to see who's the team that kind of takes over the flow of the game this week. But should be pretty interesting for UMass as they go on the road on Friday.
Well, Eric, you and I are both Connecticut guys, and that, of course, means we're always fired up for the Nutmeg Classic and 3 nationally ranked teams in the women's tournament this year. Yale is going to host it on Friday and Saturday. They're number 13. You've got number 7 Quinnipiac, and representing Hockey East, number 11 UConn. The Huskies are the highest-ranked team in the conference right now, and lately they're getting a lot of really impressive performances from all over the ice. I mean, Megan Warner just earned Hockey East Goaltender of the Week. Swept Holy Cross, allowed just 1 goal in 2 games, and we've seen Holy Cross knock off a couple of really good teams across this season. And then on the offensive side, they have an incredible line of Ashley Allard, Jada Habish, and Riley Grimley. Those are 3 of the top 5 plus-minus skaters in the conference, so they get a ton of ice time. They deserve a ton of ice time, so if you're going to slow the Huskies down, it starts with trying to neutralize that top line, but Allard, Habish, and Grimley, they have been absolutely dynamic this year, so it'll be fun to see if they can pull off a couple of wins this weekend and win that Nutmeg Classic.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting to see. And it'd be big for Hockey East just to get some non-conference wins against the ECAC if that's possible. That's obviously been something that we've talked a little bit about on the show. One that is a Hockey East game this week, despite it being a neutral site. How about up in Gloucester as part of the Gloucester 400 celebration this year? Boston College and Northeastern, they're going to play at Talbot Rink, which is the home rink for former Olympic coach and former Northeastern coach Ben Smith. It's hosted by the Gloucester 400 committee. Tickets are only $5. You can go to visitgloucesterma400.org. Let's make sure we get that right. So kind of a unique setting. A lot of different players have grown up in that rink. And what's fascinating also is just how well Boston College has played here of late, right? I mean, 8-2-1 over since you were talking about UConn. Remember, BC had to dig out against UConn down 2-0 in their first Hockey East game. They're 8-2-1 since that point, all in league play. So they've played really well. Northeastern still trying to find their mojo from the last couple of years. So that should be a fun game in a fun setting this week up in Gloucester.
I mean, it's always fun to make these cross-country trips and check out a new hockey venue. And that's what Providence is doing with 2 games in Tempe at Arizona State. Friday at 9 Eastern, Sunday at 4 Eastern, so the Friday-Sunday combo. And this might be the biggest pairwise series in the bubble area of the weekend. Providence is number 11, Arizona State number 16, so right on the edge of the pairwise. And we'll go back to that series you mentioned against UMass. I can't get over the stat. Providence, under Nate Lehman, has led after 2 periods 219 times. They've only lost 9 of those games. 9 losses in 13 years when leading after 2 periods. 2 of those losses just happened in back-to-back games against UMass. So I think it'll be a long time before they give up another third-period lead. They are still the best defense in the country, only allowing 2 goals a game. And, of course, they were just 3 minutes away from a shutout on the road at the Mullen Center on Saturday before UMass winds up winning in overtime. But this is going to be really fascinating because they're going to get the very best Arizona State has to offer because the Sun Devils, they don't have a conference or, an auto bid tournament. So their NCAA candidacy, it really comes down to weekends like this. They swept Merrimack. They split with Denver. That helps their pairwise. But if you look ahead for them after this Providence series, the only team they play that's currently better than 20th in the pairwise is Dartmouth. They're at 17, a nice surprise out of the Ivy League. Harvard and Cornell's coming up. They're in the low 20s, but this could be their last best chance to really make a big step forward in the pairwise. So, I mean, Nate Lehman, as he always does, he's going to have his guys ready because I'm not going to say it's Arizona State Super Bowl or anything, but you're going to get maximum effort from the Sun Devils in a huge series. So can't wait to follow along.
No, it's no doubt it's important. And remember, this was the time of year where hockey started to slip a little bit last year in the non-conference. So these games are so important, not just for each individual team, remember, but for the league as a whole, who is in a really good place to begin the season with their non-conference, but trying to continue that. And another example of it, Boston College will be on the road today against Notre Dame. They'll also be on the road at Harvard on Sunday in kind of one of these classic non-conference rivalries. We've seen BC Notre Dame through the years. We've seen Cornell and BU and Red Hot Hockey through the years. That's coming up Saturday at Madison Square Garden. But I want to lock in on Notre Dame because it's kind of the same thing. This is a massive game for them. They'll always have the Big Ten. There's no doubt in their Big Ten schedule, and the Big Ten's good enough where games are important. But same thing, a chance to pick off a big non-conference game against a Boston College in what's just a one-off this weekend. Notre Dame, really good penalty kill, really good on the face-off. Face-off's been something that BC was better at the last 3 games after struggling up at Maine. BC's penalty kill has also been excellent. But the power play's been interesting between BC because I think even at this point, Greg Brown would tell you, we still haven't quite found it, the right combination. We still haven't quite found the right personnel. There's so many different talent guys on the ice. It's hard to put them together. And yet they're still scoring sometimes multiple power play goals a game. So it's scary to think that they could ever figure that out. But that'll be an interesting dynamic. Cutter Gauthier went off. He's the Hockey East Player of the Week against UConn in that 5-point weekend for Boston College. So they will be Friday against Notre Dame and then Sunday at Harvard. So an interesting week for the team that's now ranked number 1 in the USA Today poll, not the other poll, but back to number 1 in one of the 2 polls here for Boston College. And as we've said it, these non-conference games are so important. We mentioned Hockey East is off to such a great start. We'll see how we do. There's plenty more games we could talk about, but these are the ones we've chosen. We'll see if they're the right ones that we've chosen, but it should be a fun weekend overall. Appreciate you joining us. Hope you enjoyed the holiday, and we'll see you next week for another edition of This Week in Hockey East.